All right, guys. So we created the simple Tailwind starter, which is a nice little environment to build Tailwind websites, and maybe you have just a little bit of JavaScript to add through a script tag, and that's absolutely fine. However, you might have cases where you want to build more advanced front-end applications and you want to use multiple JavaScript files, you want to import modules, maybe you want to install npm modules. You can't do that with just using the browser and using a JavaScript with a script tag. So you need some kind of build tool to be able to build out static assets that you can deploy and that you can use right in the browser. So Webpack is one of those tools. It's a module bundler. And I'm going to show you how we can create a more advanced environment using Webpack, a tool called PostCSS, and Tailwind. Now, this is not something that you need to know for the rest of the course or anything like that. In fact, you don't even have to watch this video. I just wanted to add it for those of you that are a bit more advanced that want to know how to do something like this. Okay, so as I said, Webpack is a module bundler, so you can have multiple JavaScript files, you can import npm modules, and then Webpack will just build it out into static assets that you can then deploy. So PostCSS is it's a tool that will transform your styles you're using JavaScript plugins, and there's a ton of plugins available. You can see there's a lot of different categories, but we can actually include Tailwind as a PostCSS plugin, and that was actually one of the options if you remember when we looked at the documentation. So that's what we're going to do, is set up this starter kit. Now, if we go to the Tailwind course projects, you'll see that one of the options here, or one of the folders, is Webpack Tailwind Starter, and this is the code that we're going to create right now. Okay, but you could just clone it and use it if you want. We're using the Webpack dev server, which you can just do npm run dev, and it runs on 3000. Now, there's also a link here to a gist that has basically all the steps that we need that we're going to take to create this. So I'll just keep this open as well, and then we'll make this smaller, and let's just create a new folder that we're going to create this in. So I'll call this Webpack, we'll say Webpack Tailwind Starter, and I'm going to open this up with VS Code. And let's go ahead and open up the terminal, and we're going to start this off just like we did the simple Tailwind Starter, is npm init -y, and that's going to create a package.json file, and then we can install Tailwind. So npm install uppercase D, because it's a dev dependency, and then Tailwind CSS. Now we have a whole bunch of other things that we need to install. So it says Webpack and loaders, and what I'm going to do is just copy this, and that's what I would suggest you do if you're following along, and just paste it in, or you can just copy it from here if you want. And then I'll explain what these are in a second. All right, so once they're installed, we can look at package.json, and we have a couple extra things here. So we have Tailwind, we have Webpack, the Webpack CLI, so we can use Webpack commands, and then also the dev server, which is not, I mean, this is optional, but it's really nice to have a local server that you can develop with that will automatically compile your source code, and also it has hot reloading, so it reloads automatically, and it's something that is worth installing. And then we also have the CSS loader and the style loader, which allow us to import CSS files directly into our JavaScript file. Okay, we also have the PostCSS loader in order to use PostCSS. So the next step here would be to create our source folder. So we're going to have a folder called src, and this is where we have our entry point, which I'm going to call index.js. And for now, let's just do a console log of hello world. Okay, now this JavaScript file, you're not going to load this automatically with your browser. Webpack is going to watch this folder, watch this file, and then it's going to create another folder called dist, and you can change that name if you want. And then it'll create the bundled JavaScript. Okay, now in order to do that, we do have to create a Webpack config. So let's say webpack.config.js. And then this is we're gonna do module exports, and this is called the CommonJS module syntax. And this is what you would use if you're using like Node.js and not front-end stuff like React. So in here we just need to have a mode, and I'm going to set that to development. When you're ready to go into production, you can set it to production, but I'm going to set it to development, and then I'm going to go into my package.json and create a build script, just like we did with the starter pack. Oops. All right, so what we want this to do is just simply run the webpack command. And then we're going to come down here and let's run npm run build. Okay, so what this did is, if we look up here, we have a folder called dist that was created automatically, and it created a main.js. So this is the bundled JavaScript file, and this is always going to just look crazy. It's our compiled minified code, but somewhere in here you will see the console log that is in our index.js. So this main.js, this is the file you would actually include in your HTML. Now, I want to change the name of the file and stuff, so I'm going to just delete the dist folder and go back into the config. And what we want to add next is the entry. So by default, you can keep it. It's going to be source index, and that's what I'm going to keep. So I'll just put in here the entry is going to be ./source/index. But of course, you could change that to whatever you want. And then for the output, that's going to be an object with a path, which I want to be the dist folder. Actually, we should probably use the path module. So let's bring that in. We'll say const path equals require path, and that's just a utility for dealing with paths and getting the absolute path and so on. So down here we'll say path dot, and then there's a function called resolve, and then we can pass in here _dir name. That's just basically the location of the current directory, and then from there we want the dist folder. So that's going to be the path that we output to. Then we can specify the file name, and by default you saw that it was, you saw that it was main.js, but I like to call it bundle.js. It should be in quotes, because that's what it is. It's your bundled JavaScript. It's all your source code bundled up. So if I save that and I come down here and I run npm run build again, it should now create a dist folder with a bundle.js. And you're